Hi, I'm Gareth Edwards, and today I'm going to break down a scene from The Creator.
They've come for me. I have to help.
There's nothing we can do.
I have to help.
Alfie, we gotta go. Alfie! Alfie!
This scene is actually a great example of rolling with your punches and how sometimes you can turn a negative into a positive. I wanted to shoot this whole sequence in Cambodia at a floating village, and what happened is the pandemic came along and they were like, we can go to Cambodia, but you can't shoot the whole sequence there. You're gonna have to do all the big explosion stuff in Thailand. And so I was like, okay, we've got to find a place that looks incredible. And we looked everywhere, and just by I say sheer fluke, but location scouts found this bridge, this kind of, I think it's the second biggest wooden trestle bridge in the world or something that you can walk across. Anyway, it's massive, and it looked like something straight out of a David Lean movie. And now looking back on it, there's this whole sequence that takes place with this bridge, and it feels like embarrassing that I hadn't written it that way or storyboarded it that way, that this was just an accident of the pandemic, like forcing me not to film where I wanted to film. So that was massive. Industrial Light and Magic were really good in that a lot of the people you see in the sequence that are robots or AI, they weren't wearing those special suits. They didn't have the motion capture suits on. I didn't want anybody to look like a robot or have to be a robot in the sequence. We just filmed it with everyone as a human, and then in post-production, once it was edited, when we were like, then we watched it together and said, okay, it'd be really cool if this woman was a robot. If that person running past there, your eye goes to them, so let's make them a robot. So like, we weren't stuck with anyone having to be AI. And so like, in terms of the design, like if you look at Alfie, essentially Alfie is, I mean, like what we did is we drew a little bit of a Terminator skull and robotic skull, I guess Ralph McQuarrie, and there's so many influences, Chris Cunningham, everybody is in there, but basically created a metallic kind of skull and neck, and then put the actor's skin on top. And then with James Klein, we did a million different designs of like how to remove the skin in such a way that you still had empathy for the character. And one of the things we noticed was that if you cut the neck off, if you remove the throat, it felt like a floating head or a mask. And there was something uncanny about it that you kind of reject, or it doesn't feel quite as human. So we left the throat in, and then basically you're following the circle of, once you remove the ears, I wanted it to be that whatever we did, it didn't look like prosthetics. There was no way this could have been makeup. And so the clearest way to do that is punch a hole through, create negative space in the head. And so we, look at the ear. So if we remove the ear, you get this circular shape, and there's so many designs with robots that have circles around here. And so it was like, let's just punch a circle right through the skull. And then you just we kept trying to remove and add skin until it just felt right. It was the very last thing we finished designing before ILM kind of pulled it out of our fingers, because if we didn't get Alfie looking right, she was going to achieve high score with the amount of eyeballs on her in the movie. So it was like, we've got to get this right. We needed a lot of smoke in this sequence, and Jonathan, who was our special effects supervisor, I was like, we're gonna have to take the biggest smoke machine you have to Thailand. And he lovingly referred to the one he did eventually ship over as the giant mother. And so we had the giant mother on a car. You could only transport it on a truck. It was so big. And then on this particular day, we're in like a floating village. So they had to then put the truck on a boat. And then they had to gamble every morning on which direction the wind was going to blow, because it would take hours to get it off the boat, get the boat the other side of the bridge, get it back on. Like, you'd ruin the whole day. So Jonathan every day had to watch like a hawk how the wind was changing and get the boat the right side of the bridge, so the smoke would drift into shot and not out. And it's very easy to just take this stuff for granted, but the guys did a phenomenal job, I think, layering up all the depth in this sequence so that it had this real cinematic feel to it. The thing I'm most proud of in this, in the movie, and especially you can see it in this sequence, is that mixture of what Star Wars does so well is like the distant past and the distant future. I love the idea of like a timeless, like there's nothing contemporary in this sequence. Everything's like something that you could have seen 30, 50 years ago in terms of, even 100 years ago in terms of the floating village aspect of it all. And then mixed with these giant like manga style tanks. James Klein, who designed the tanks, our goal was to have them look like a model kit you could buy from Bandai, like some sort of thing that would have been in a manga film. And so what we kept doing, as stupid as this sounds, is when we did a design, we would take that design and we'd put it on a Bandai model box and just see if we got jealous. Like we weren't gonna stop until we went, I really want that model on my desk. And so there's like negative space, there's all kinds of interesting things. We tried lots of different approaches of designing the robots. At one point, we got the, insect heads, so the heads of insects from things like a praying mantis or whatever. And then we pretended that someone who designed the Sony Walkman had to make this insect head. And so it's kind of like half organic, half product design. And then we took things like, you'll see some of these robots, we took film, like home cinema projectors and used that as a head, and then started to try and make it feel more like asymmetrical and characterful. And there's a really fine line between it becoming like a kid's movie where it's too cartoony or not having any personality at all. And so it was really difficult, knife's edge, to just get them looking cool and like there was someone inside, a soul, but it wasn't like a kiddie film. We had these new cameras that were incredibly lightweight and also very sensitive to light, so you didn't need all these massive lights you normally have on a film set sometimes. And so it meant we could be very run and gun. And we had a 360-degree view. Like, it was always really important to me that the crew, and there was, for some of these big set pieces with the giant explosions, we needed a lot of crew to help us pull this off, but they all had to stay hidden. And anyone in shot had to wear costumes as if they were locals and stuff. And so basically everyone's hiding around the corner. In every single scene, they're either inside a hut or behind one, and you can't, so the camera can always look in any direction. So we can have that sort of chaotic war feeling. And like, depending on how some random moment that happens with explosions or gunfire, I can quickly change the composition. So there's a monkey in this. So basically, like, this monkey is a phenomenal, right? I think it was one of the best actors in the movie. And I'll let you into a little secret. Well, I was like, they showed us a video of how this monkey rehearsing, and it was brilliant. I couldn't figure out how they'd got the monkey to do all this stuff. And then we came to set, and I got the camera. Monkey comes on, and I start noticing in the corner of my eye, there's like another monkey over there, and the monkey that's in the movie is a female monkey. And as soon as it did a good take, its reward was to go over to the male monkey and, let's just say, have a cuddle, right? It was a little bit more than a cuddle. But everyone was like, what's going on? And then suddenly it would finish and come back and do another take. It was like every time it did a good take, it went over to the male monkey and got a cuddle. And it was like, okay, this is an interesting way to get a performance.